My name is Jonathan Hicks and today we're converting units. Now if you haven't seen the metric system video, go and watch that one first. That'll give you an overview of the metric system. Most of the time when you're converting units it will be to do with metric units, but sometimes they ask you to convert imperial units as well. We'll deal with all of them. In either case though, it's very straightforward. This is not a difficult topic. I'll just run through a few examples and you should get the hang of it. So if we start with, let's have 257 centimeters, and imagine you wanted to convert that into meters. So it's going to be equal to so many meters, and we need to try and figure out how much that's going to be. Now the way you convert anything from one unit into another is you either multiply or divide by the conversion factor. What do I mean by the conversion factor? Well, that's simply how many of the smaller thing fits into the larger thing. So in this case there are 100 centimeters in every meter, so the conversion factor is 100. That's all it is, and you do need to always know these. We'll talk a bit more about that later. So you're either going to be multiplying or dividing by 100. Now only one of those is going to give you the right answer, but the other one will give you an answer that's completely wrong. There are two general ways you can approach this, and probably the easiest for most people is the common sense approach. So you try multiplying by 100, you try dividing by 100 as well, and you ask yourself, which one is this sensible one, using your common sense. So in this case, 257 times 100 will give you, if you times by 100 you stick 2 zeros on the end, so that's going to be 25700, so that's 25,700 meters. Or if we divide by 100, that means you're going to have to take the decimal point and move it 2 places to the left. So it's going to be 2.57. So these are our two options. Either the answer is 25,700 meters or it's 2.57 meters. Then you need to use your common sense. 257 centimeters, well 100 centimeters makes a meter, yep, so that would be 100 centimeters. So you can picture how much 257 centimeters would be. It's like 2.5 times that much. So is the answer going to be 25,700 meters? 25,000 of those? Don't think so. That's like way off the planet's surface and into space probably. So it's definitely not that one. 2.5 meters-ish? Yeah, that sounds about right. So with your common sense, you can realise that that is completely daft. There's no way that's going to be right. And so the answer is 2.57 meters. So that's the common sense approach. You just work them both out and decide which one sounds best. Let me show you another example. So if we have 0.83 grams, and this time we're going to convert that into milligrams. So some people don't always like the common sense approach. That's fine. This is another way you can do it. So again, you just multiply or divide by the conversion factor, and you just have to work out which way. Is it multiply? Is it divide? There were no other options. In this case though, the conversion factor is how many milligrams fit in a gram. The metric system though is very straightforward. Almost always the conversion factor is 1,000. There are 1,000 milligrams in every gram. So in this case we're either going to multiply or divide by 1,000. Now another way you can look at this to work out which way you should go is you say, well, which is the bigger unit, grams or milligrams? Well, in this case there are 1,000 milligrams in a gram, so a gram is much bigger than a milligram. This is much bigger than this is. So if grams are bigger and milligrams are smaller, you need more milligrams to make up the same amount. If I have a certain amount of stuff that I'm weighing, if I weigh it in grams, grams are a big unit, so I won't need many grams to make up that amount of stuff. Milligrams though are a teeny tiny unit. You need 1,000 of them just to make 1 gram. So you need far more milligrams to make the same thing. So because you're going from a big unit to a small unit, you need more of these. And so you multiply. That's the other way you can look at this. So use 0.83 times 1,000, move the decimal place 3 times, so 1, 2, and then it's going to go over a space, so we fill out with a 0. That's going to give you 830. Yeah, the decimal point was here in front of the 8. We're moving it 1, 2, 3 times because we're timesing by 1,000. And again, the reason you're timesing by 1,000 is because you're going from a big unit to a small unit. You need more of them. So you multiply by 1,000. If you were to divide by 1,000, you'd have less of them. Alright, so that's a second example. Let's just do one more. The imperial system then. Sometimes you have to convert between the metric system and the imperial system. Now if you're asked to convert between metric system like units like grams and milligrams, you'll be expected to know what the conversion factors are. And most of the time it's very easy because it's almost always 1,000. In the imperial system though, if you ever need to convert from an imperial system measurement to a metric measurement or vice versa, they'll usually give you the conversion factor. You don't often have to remember them. Sometimes they want you to, but most of the time you don't need to. So if we start with 70 kilograms, for example, if you had to convert this into pounds, the symbol for pounds is a lowercase lb, stands for Libra. Then in this case we need to know what the conversion factor is between kilograms and pounds. Now it turns out that there are 2.2 pounds, give or take, in every 1 kilogram. Kilograms are heavier than pounds. You need 2 and a bit pounds just to make up 1 kilogram. So that's the conversion factor. And as I say, usually if you're asked to convert between, say, metric and imperial, you'll be given the conversion factor. You won't need to remember this. Alright, so converting then, we're going to start with the 70. You always start with the amount that you've been given, and you're either going to multiply or divide by 2.2. You just have to decide which. So in this case, kilograms are heavier than pounds. Yeah, you need over 2 pounds just to make 1 kilogram. So kilograms are heavier. So we're going from a heavier unit to a lighter unit. These are smaller than these, so we need more of them. So you're going to have to times this by 2.2 again. If you end up needing more of them, you times. If you needed less of them, you would divide. Now at this point, you probably need to get your calculator. So it's 70 times 2.2 gives you 154. And that's your final answer. So 70 kilograms would be 154 pounds. So converting between units is always exactly the same. You either multiply or divide by the conversion factor. The conversion factor is simply how many of the smaller thing fits into one of the larger thing. You can either use your common sense, do it both ways and ask yourself which one's sensible, or think about, am I going to a bigger unit or a smaller unit? But just remember, if you go to a smaller unit, you need more of them, so multiply. If you're going to a bigger unit, you need less of them, so you're going to be dividing.